as we light up the cigars, Robert, do you have a question?
I have a question. The other day I was in my local humidor, and I was looking at the different cigars that were in there, and I noticed there were many different sizes and ring gauges. So how many are there exactly?
Wow. How many there are exactly, I could not tell you, because there are a ton of them.
There's a lot.
Now, what I can do is give you like a basic 10 that, will pretty much fit the size and shape, the size of pretty much all your cigars. Does that work?
That works.
Okay. No, that's not enough. 10's not enough.
I think you got to narrow it down to like the top 400 size options.
I'm going to go with 10, and then y'all can just carry it on from there. How about that?
No, it's probably 10's probably enough. Now that you mentioned.
Okay, so it's 10 good. 10's good, right?
My clinical education says I can't count past 10, anyways. Maybe to 11.
It's just true. I mean, it depends on how many fingers and toes you have.
Well,
that's about as high as you can go.
That's it.
So, first off, you have your Corona cigar. And your Corona cigar is like your standard size cigars, right?
Sure.
Well, they are. They're usually your standard size cigars, which are about 5.5 inches, probably around 42, 44 ring gauge. That's what they would fall into, like a classic Corona cigar. Then probably the next one I would say would be the Robusto, maybe, which is still around 5 inches. But it's usually a bigger ring gauge, like a 50 ring gauge. Then I know there's the Toro, which is a little bit longer than the Robusto, where it's like 6 inches, and it's usually a heavier ring gauge too, or a bigger ring gauge, like a 50 to 55, something around there.
For the Toro? Yeah.
For the Toro,
50,
yeah.
50 to 60, actually, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, maybe 50 to 60. So, but I know it's like a 6 inch. But then you have your Churchills, which are, getting into the bigger sizes, which are start like at 7 inches, but they're a little bit smaller. They're like you're usually around a 40 something, mid 40s ring gauge, somewhere around there. And then you have the longer one than the Churchill, which is the Lonsdale, and that's even thinner than a Churchill, but it's a little bit shorter too. It's usually around 6 inches, 6.5 inches, somewhere around there. So they're not quite as big as the Churchills. Does anybody think of any more?
You got the Lancero,
right?
Which is about 7.5, and it's pencil thin.
Yep, you're right.
What size is the nub?
The nub falls under like a Rothschild because it's a 50 ring gauge and like a 4.5, maybe. Is that about right for
maybe?
Just saying,
maybe
we can't forget about the little ones.
That's right. It's got it gets cold outside.
It is cold outside.
I would say, yeah. I think
that's probably closer to a 60. I think on a nub. It's pretty. They're stout.
They are.
But I think a nub would actually fall into like a Robusto. But no, they're usually like 4 inches, aren't they? So,
the standard,
yeah,
classic nub line.
Yeah, I think they're like a 4 inch. So yeah, that maybe help.
Part of that too is a lot of the brands and blends will just name their stuff. I mean, like what we're smoking tonight. Whatever I did with the band, it tells you what size it is or what size they want you to call it.
Yeah, it's a Toro. But then you also have like a double Corona.
Mm-hmm.
Double Coronas are usually really big, almost 9 inches, like between 7.5 inches to 9 inches.
Twice as much beer as an original Corona.
Exactly.
Comes with the lime.
Yeah.
And a disappointment.
I want to know how long that line's been on the shelf.
Don't know. But yeah, there's a double Corona. Did we go over the Gordo?
No, but and don't forget the Grand. Like there's a Grand Corona, and it's
there's a Grand Corona,
9.5 inches or more.
Yeah,
there's a Petite Corona.
There's a petite Corona as well. Yep.
It's a tiny cigar.
Yeah, it's like
I feel like we've gone to left field at this point.
Well, there's also like the Presidente, which is like an 8-inch cigar, and it has like a 52-inch or 52 inch. Sorry, 52 ring gauge, not 52 inches.
This is going to take me an hour to smoke.
52 inch cigar. Somebody else is holding it. You
I was
need
gonna say,
to find a bipod for it.
is that something? Is that like
Presidente has
deck
people.
mounted? Is that a deck mounted cigar?
That is a tech mounted cigar.
Are gonna take it?
Might get you tackled on a golf course. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the different ones that you can actually that are more common as far as sizes go. And I mean it's really hard to sit there and when you're sitting in a lounge or when you're sitting in a humidor or walking into a humidor and you see a cigar and you look at it and you're like, well, is that 6 inches? Is it a Toro? Is it a Lonsdale?
Is it a pick up the cigar? Look at the
is it a
little stick of paper down here on the back that says I'm a Lonsdale.
Exactly. So, but I bring that up because it's okay if you don't know shapes and sizes. It really is. It doesn't really matter.
Smoking. You look at it and you're like, hey man, that's a nice shape. I like you. I'll put you in my mouth.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good point of reference. So when you go back into the store and be like, you know what, that was just enough cigar for me to smoke. What was it? Okay, it was a Toro. So let me look for more Toros. Stuff like that. It's really more of a gauge to help you find where your spot is in your cigar smoking.
Yeah, for a long time, I was smoking Lonsdales, and now with my palate, my taste and choices of cigars have changed. I'd much rather smoke like a Robusto, which is a 5.5 by 40 to 50.
Yeah, and for the longest time, I would smoke petite Coronas or Lanceros because I just like that thinner cigar.
Man, I started on Presidentes and Churchills. Now I'm on smaller cigars, but beforehand I was like, give me as much as you possibly can. I'm a man.
Yeah,
I want all the nicotine. Give it to me. Give it to me hard.
Put it in my veins. And now I'm just like, no, I'm good.
I prefer caffeine straight in the veins at this point.
Yeah, no worries. But does that help you out, Robert?
Yes, it does.